What is a Manuscript and How to Write One by Nicolette Bush, Hannah Moore, Caitlin Varner, and Mallory Davis. What is a manuscript? A manuscript is the final stage of a research project. Writing a manuscript ultimately allows your work to become part of a body of knowledge or get your work published. There are 10 elements to a manuscript. First is the title page, followed by the abstract, introduction, methods, results, discussion, references, tables, then figures, and finally any appendices and supplemental materials you used. A manuscript must go in this exact order. Who can write a manuscript? Well, anyone who has conducted research and wants their work to be published can write a manuscript. Who reviews it? Well, that's a process that starts with sending your manuscript to a journal you'd want your published work in. It's then reviewed by journal editors who send it to peer reviewers. A peer reviewer is just a person who's an expert in the same field as the work your manuscript is on. These people can either reject your manuscript, send it back to you for revision, or they can accept it. It's not uncommon to have it sent back for revision the first time around, the first few times even. It's very rare for a manuscript to be accepted the first time. Once it's been accepted, it can be picked up by news organizations, the internet, and eventually end up on cable or local news.
When writing a manuscript, there is a certain format that one needs to follow. 12-point font, Times New Roman, 1-inch margins, and make sure it is double-spaced. Starting with the title page. It contains 5 components in a specific order: running head, title, byline, institutional affiliation, and author's note. The running head. A running head is a shortened version of the title. It is on every page of the manuscript. It cannot exceed 50 characters, including spaces and punctuation. It should be in all capital letters and flushed left to the page. Page numbers should be flushed right. Include the words running head before your actual running head, but only on the title page. Every page after the title page should just be your running head. The title. The title summarizes the main ideas of the manuscript. It should be simple and stylish. It should be fully explanatory when read alone. It should be positioned in the center upper half of the page, in upper and lowercase letters, and cannot exceed more than 12 words. The byline. The byline is another name for the author or author's name. The authors should go in order with participation. Do not include titles, such as Doctor, Professor, MD, etc. The order should go as first, middle, and last. One should try and use the same order for every paper that they publish. Institutional affiliation. Institutional affiliation is the location where the author or authors were when the research was conducted. There should be no more than 2 institutional affiliations per author. Include a dual affiliation only if 2 institutions contributed substantial support to the study. Include the institution that participated the most, following the second. When there is no institutional affiliation, list the city and state of residence. The author's note. The author's note is located at the bottom of the title page. It contains department affiliation, changes in affiliation, acknowledgments and grants, special circumstances such as conflict of interest, and a contact person. Abstract. The abstract is the summary of the article's contents. It describes study purpose, participants, study method, basic findings, and conclusion. It should be accurate, coherent, and concise. The abstract is always the second page of a manuscript. It should be between 150 to 250 words. This depends on the type of journal that it can or will be published in. Do not include anything else on the second page other than the abstract. Introduction. The introduction follows the abstract. It is always the third page of the manuscript. Unlike other components in a manuscript, the introduction has no heading label. The introduction is a specific statement of the research problem or question. It addresses the study purpose, how it relates to previous research, hypothesis, and implications.
The method section describes in detail how the study was conducted. The method consists of participant characteristics, measures and covariates, and research design. For writing up the participants section, you want to make sure that you include how many participants were in your study, demographic information such as ethnicity or race, settings and locations where data was collected, inclusion and exclusion criteria, payment and compensation, and the IRB approval. For the materials section, you want to describe scales that were used and give credit to the creators of the scales. Include special equipment that was used in the study, such as computers, software, etc. Research design. Be concise and describe exactly what the participants completed. Writing up methods in APA. When writing up methods, make sure you center the word method and make sure that it is in bold font with upper and lowercase letters. Participants' materials and procedures are left justified. Make sure that these are also in bold. Make sure to indent your paragraphs. Numbers are spelled out if they start a sentence or are less than 10. And make sure to write in past tense. Use enough detail that someone could replicate your study. Results. Summarizes the collected data and analyses performed on the data. When writing up your results, make sure to center results and make sure that it is in bold font. Use appropriate subheadings as needed. There are rules for reporting descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. When reporting descriptive statistics, report the measure of central tendency, the mean, and the measure of dispersion, standard deviation. When reporting inferential statistics, include the value of test statistic, degrees of freedom, and probability. Make sure to report up to 3 means. If there are more than 3 means, it's better to put them in a table or figure. Space mathematical symbols as you would space words. Statistical symbols are in italics. Do not include individual raw scores. When it comes to decimal places, make sure to round them. Use a 0 before the decimal point with numbers that are less than 1. Do not use a 0 before a decimal fraction when the statistic cannot be greater than 1. Discussion. Evaluate and interpret the implications of your results. Writing up your discussion. Following right after the end of the results section, center the word discussion and make sure that it's in bold. The length of your discussion should be similar to your introduction. Space once underneath discussion and indent your paragraph. Go back to your original hypothesis and state whether it was supported or not. If your hypothesis was not supported, offer post hoc explanations. Make sure to explain the similarities and differences between the results of your study and other published work. Mention theoretical contributions or practical implications. Talk about the limitations and weaknesses of your study, and recap with important findings and how your research can lead to future research.
In the reference section, it is double-spaced, 1-inch margins on all sides, 12-point font, and Times New Roman font. References should begin on a new separate page from the text of the essay, labeling at the top of this page references centered and in bold. The reference page should also be double-spaced like the rest of your essay. Check APA manual, especially with less commonly used cited items. Here are a couple examples for different formats for references. Also, anything retrieved from the internet requires a reference. Reference APA manual for these. Lastly, use DOI when it is available. Tables in APA. Tables are commonly used to present quantitative data or the results of statistical analysis, such as means, standard deviations, correlation. Make sure the tables are easy to comprehend. Each table should be labeled consecutively. Also, tables are placed on the separate pages at the end of the paper, after the references. Do not split tables across a page. Here are a couple rules for formatting tables. Check APA manual for further formatting rules. Figures in APA. Most importantly, remember figures are placed after tables when reporting them. Commonly used figures when reporting in APA style are graphs, scatter plots, line graphs, bar graphs, pictorial graphs, charts, drawing photographs, and circle pie graphs. Here are some important things to remember when reporting figures. Figures are placed on separate pages after the tables. Every figure must be cited in the text and labeled in order. All figures must be labeled and have a caption below the figure. Axes and units of measurement are labeled clearly. Graphs and figures include legends.
What are appendices? Appendices include stimulus materials, description of equipment, subpopulation description. If you have more than one appendix, label each one with a capital letter, such as Appendix A, Appendix B, etc. Supplement materials. Supplement materials are materials that are not easily presented in standard print form. They include computer codes, mathematic models, video audio clips, oversized tables, intervention protocols, data sets, expanded methods, and color figures. If you have any questions over the content of a manuscript, you can ask your professor, refer to the latest version of the APA publication manual. You could also go to your local library or find any answers online as well.